Since Spider-Man and Superman have a collab comic that recently came out, let me tell y'all about the first DC and Marvel crossover and how they gave us one of the coolest character fusions. So this is Spider-Boy, and he comes from something called the Amalgam Universe, and it is so cool and so weird. So the Amalgam Universe is a universe which consists of characters that are combinations of a bunch of DC and Marvel characters. You got characters like Darkclaw, which is Batman and Wolverine, you got Super Soldier, which is Superman and Captain America, and the main character of this video, Spider-Boy. So Spider-Boy is the combination of Ben Reilly, who's the clone of Spider-Man, and he was the current Spider-Man of the 90s era, and Superboy, who's the clone of Superman. But first, let's talk about how these characters even merged in the first place. So this basically starts out with two godly entities known as the brothers. Each brother had a respective universe that they embodied, with one being DC and one being Marvel. When each brother found out about each other's existence, they pit their own heroes and villains against each other to see which universe was better. And whoever won overall got to destroy the other brother's universe. This resulted in a bunch of fights like Spider-Man vs Superboy, Superman vs Hulk, Flash vs Quicksilver, and more. To stop this chaos though, the Spectre and the Living Tribunal combine their powers to temporarily merge the two universes. This creates the Amalgamverse, and that's how we get Spider-Boy and a bunch of other characters. Now let's get into bro's origin. So Spider-Boy's real name is Pete Ross. Pete was actually part of the Super Soldier cloning experiment ran by a scientist named Peter Parker and a man named General Thunderbolt Ross. The experiment took place at Cadmus Labs, and this was meant to make a perfect adult clone of the hero Super Soldier with the addition of gravity manipulating powers. This ended up not going too good though, due to a man named Kenny Gargan sabotaging the experiment and causing everything to explode. This explosion literally kills Peter and causes the clone to wake up prematurely. Confused as fuck, the clone starts tweaking and starts running up walls. Ross sees that the clone is just a kid, so he decides to adopt him, giving him the last name Ross and the first name Pete after his creator. Ross would continue raising him and would teach him that with great power comes great responsibility. Their time together was cut short though, because Ross would end up getting killed by a random mugger. Ross's death inspired Pete to use his powers for good and make it so that he would be the center of attention for criminals to keep innocents safe. Seeing as he can stick to walls like a spider due to his gravity manipulation, he becomes a vigilante going by the name Spider-Boy. And can we talk about this costume? This costume's hard. Like, this is hard as hell. Bro got the leather jacket, the mask, like, come on. Eventually he would go back to Cadmus and becomes an agent for them, and they would give him something called the web shooter. The web shooter was like a pistol-like weapon that can shoot synthetic webbing so he could swing off of surfaces with it. Cadmus would have him go on a bunch of missions, and this dude ended up getting a crazy-ass rogues gallery. He fought people like Bizarnage, who's a combination of Bizarro and Carnage. There's King Lizard, which is Lizard and King Shark. There's Arachno, which is a failed clone of Spider-Boy. He was made by the Agenda Corporation, and they're just an organization of evil scientists trying to take Cadmus's work. And Arachno's real name is actually Kane. There's also Recluse, who ended up being the perfect copy of Spider-Boy, and his name is Ross Peters. And then finally, there's Kenny Gargan, who ended up becoming the villain named Scorpicon. Spider-Boy would even end up getting sent on a blind date with a woman named Mary Jane, who is actually the superheroine known as the Insect Queen, and they end up getting engaged. Also forgot to mention, when Pete's not being Spider-Boy, he actually works at the Daily Bugle, where he takes and publishes photos of himself as Spider-Boy. Now other than this, there's a weird time paradox